It's me. I am going to give you a quick tour of the IGME UN database. It's interesting and it's a source for you now and in the future. I've chosen Guatemala. I lived in Guatemala for about a year when I decided that I'd have to learn Spanish as a healthcare provider in California, since 50% of the population speaks Spanish. This is mostly to save myself time. So here I've chosen Guatemala. I'm in the all-cause mortality, and you can see that one can choose under 5 mortality. You can go for infant mortality rates. You can go for a neonatal mortality rate. Just remember those rates are per 1,000, unlike mortality rate for pregnant mothers, which is per 100,000. We're looking at a total, and you can kind of see that if you don't compare with another country, that these just look like lines. So let's add other countries, and we can do that by pressing compare estimates. Here, Afghanistan is chosen. I will unchoose that and see if Guatemala is still here. It is not, so here's that. And what is this, the other country? Let's see what other country has been selected. Afghanistan wants to be selected. Okay, so I'm going to unselect and I'm going to choose, let's say, Argentina, where I have 2 engineer friends. And I would love to choose, let's say, Bhutan. I know the prime minister there. Bhutan's kind of famous for one of being the happiest places on earth. This is not the greatest table because it doesn't really label the country, so you kind of have to click back and forth to see what was what. So here, interestingly, the under 5 mortality rate for the Bhutan is higher than that of Guatemala, which is in blue, and then Argentina is on the bottom. So we can look at under 5. I bet these ratios or this order stays the same between countries, as usually the health status will cross the different cohorts. So here's under 5 mortality. Now let's look at infant mortality, and I'll take about that one. So we can sort of see that it's the same colors that are come into play. Let's do the same thing for neonatal mortality rate. Same country, same colors also. Okay, so now let's look at Guatemala only again, and data, and just make sure, Guatemala. And now we're going to look at causes of death, and for that we would go to the bottom left here. Let's see. Cause of death. Here we go. Cause of death under 5. I want to look at neonates because I am actually speaking at you from the hospital, taking care of little babies. So there you go. So what is this? This is birth asphyxia trauma. In the United States, we don't say the word asphyxia. We'll usually say hypoxia, but in the global health community, people say asphyxia. Again, it's not the greatest graph because there's no key right next to it. If I took it away, there's nothing. Let's look at diarrhea. Diarrhea, you see, is not a common cause of death for neonates. Now, I bet that would change if we picked lower respiratory tract infections, right? See, it's much higher. Get rid of that. Diarrhea. Prematurity. See, prematurity was this curve up here. It should be one of the main causes of death. I bet sepsis is even higher, so let's put sepsis there. Oh, no, it turns out sepsis is lower. again, you get rid of these. You have to get rid of the check marks to see what causes what. How about tetanus? Tetanus is really devastating, but not very common. I've seen quite a few cases of tetanus, however. Injuries will not be high, right? Because like neonates aren't usually injured, let's say in a car accident, so it's going to be very low. Okay, so one of the points of this was to look at either rate or number of deaths, and they should track fairly well, but of course you can have places that are not very populous, like Liberia is only 4 million in the whole country, that can have high rates of death, but the numbers don't seem impressive. So there are reasons to do both, look at numbers and rates. Typically, maybe if you're looking at different districts or different areas in a country, you want to look at the number of deaths to maybe take a utilitarian point of view. But you look at an entire country, you probably want to look at the rate. So now we can just look at this profile for a country of interest. Again, it's going to Afghanistan, but I want to do Guatemala. And this was just kind of an interesting spreadsheet of health in a country. And you can see that there has definitely been progress in under 5 deaths. It's showing not only the trend in Guatemala, but here is the world, and then here's Latin America, and Guatemala is kind of in the middle. What caused this decrease in death rate from 1989 to 2022? One could say, oh, it's these interventions, but it's probably wealth, or what that means, wealth and interventions. Here we're looking at all the different age groups, which is interesting. Here's the mortality rate, and here's the number of deaths, and so you can see that these shapes are very similar as discussed. Distribution of under 5 deaths by neonates and to 5 years of age. Again, neonates responsible for about half of all childhood deaths, so you want to really work on that, because that would be kind of sobering. It is sobering that in the first 28 days of life that cohort is responsible for 50% of all the way up to 60 months. That's crazy. Here you could see the rates of childhood death next to other age groups, and this kind of seems interesting to me in that there are more deaths of 10 to 19-year-olds and 20 to 24 years than 5 to 9-year-olds. I wouldn't necessarily expect that. Oh, I'm sorry. So it's 5 to 9 and 10 to 19. It's not the neonatal the time. Okay. So, I mean, the biggest take home from all of this is that you're experts too. I am talking about what I see, and I don't think anything that I'm saying is extremely sophisticated. I'm just kind of playing with the data. You should have fun with these databases and just kind of play around and mostly see if you know what is happening when you do things. The future, what we want. SDG target under 5 mortality rate of 25 or fewer deaths per 1,000. That's totally arbitrary, and kind of the reason I don't really like the SDGs. I mean, what does that even mean? I think you need to look at proportion, like, oh, we're going to decrease by 25%. Just make it something more tangible. Oh, it keeps on going. All right. So hopefully you get to use some of these databases in your memos, also in your future. Oh, I really like this. This is really the breakdown of all the different things in under 5. And of course, you're going to see, without even doing anything, that neonates will be a big contributor here, or they're going to say like prematurity or complications of prematurity. Oh, there you go. There you go. Other lower respiratory tract infections. Okay, that's it.